Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome on. We are so excited you guys have joined us for today's Zoom property tour. We are a national community of investors, and every Saturday we come to you at 11 a.m. Eastern, where we get the honor and the privilege of featuring an investor or a team of investors from our community somewhere across this wonderful United States. My name is Scott Buckholtz. I am your host. We also have Yas Hakan, our co-host. And again, we do these every Saturday, so it's really awesome to see everybody out today. We appreciate you guys taking an hour out of your day. We've had a lot of people typing in the chat room what city and state they're from. That's always neat to see because we cover across the country. And today we have a fantastic, there's Idaho. Welcome on, Idaho. Yes, 9 a.m. That's right, Idaho. Welcome on. I got my brothers getting ready to move up to Idaho. So beautiful country up there. Maryland, hello, Central. Well, guys, we are officially started. Again, my name is Scott Buckholtz. I am your host. We have Yas Hakan, our co-host. And today we have a great tour lined up for you guys. We had Daniel and Amari out about, oh gosh, I don't know if it was 6 months ago, 8 months ago. And when they were under construction under this project, or let's call it renovation on this project. And so, and maybe it might have been longer than that, but so now they've had it fully operable now for, well, I think 5 months or so, maybe 6. They got some great numbers and some great update pictures to share with us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring out Daniel. Daniel?
Hey, Scott.
Good morning, my man. How are you?
Good morning. Feeling good. Feeling excited, man. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I'm telling you, it's an honor and privilege to have you out and to get to share your story and what you're doing in your business, because it's a very inspiring story. And I know you're going to share some golden nuggets today, and I'm just so excited that you took an hour of your day out, like everybody else who's on, to join us. And I know it's more than an hour for you because you got to get prepared, got to get over to the property, or in this case, since the property's fully rented, that's always awesome. You're sharing pictures today. So, so Daniel, you know how we like to kick these off. We love, to hear about your story. What in the heck were you doing when you found real estate investing? Like, and how did you find it? I mean, did you stumble across a book? Did you, was a family member inspire you? Was a friend inspiring you? How did you decide, like, I want to check out real estate investing and I want to do this business? And then again, I always think really important for folks on, because, we have a lot of guests on today, Daniel, is how you found our community and why you made the decision to engage and say, I want to be a part of this. We call it the Framily, F-R-A-M-I-L-Y. Why did you want to become a part of the Framily? So go ahead and take it over.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that, Scott. And I appreciate everybody here. I have actually a picture that I want to share with everybody, a couple of pictures actually, and that can help me with how I basically got started. But can you see my screen right now?
If you could you enlarge it so it takes up, there you go, you got it. Excellent.
Perfect. So this is me a couple of years ago, actually, not, 3 years ago. It was actually maybe 4 years ago. It was 2019. And I was about to graduate college with a finance degree, but here I was in top of a roof doing roofing under the sun. And every time I would go out of work, I would just sit in my car, like the picture in the middle, and my face will look like that. Look at that guy right there. With a finance degree, about to graduate, and I'm working in the roofing as a contractor, living like getting paid like minimum wage, right? And the reason why I was in that roof, just working in construction, even though I was going through college, I was, basically my dream was to be in corporate America. But the basically what happened is when I immigrated here to the United States, I was told that because I was an immigrant, I needed to be on top of that roof, and I needed to be working hard, and I needed to do transactions, and I needed to get paid cash so nobody will know. I needed to basically do jobs that nobody wanted to do. I also worked and like cleaning bathrooms, cleaning offices. I did all that stuff because the people who took care of me here in the United States, they didn't know any better, right? They were immigrants like me, and they drank the Kool-Aid when people told them that's what you need to do. So here I was, tired every day. I was working 12 hours on top of the roof, and I was not even getting paid. It was not a satisfied life to me. I was working for somebody else. I was building somebody else's business, and that to me just was not good. I mean, why would I come all the way from Mexico to the United States and have a worse life than what I had in Mexico, right? It was just like, it makes no sense to me. There's gotta be more. So I started, surrounding myself. I went to property tours, just like this one, in person and online. I met Anna and Roy, who are great. They were guiding me through the process of like, oh, here are the possibilities. Here's what you can do. You can also get paid cash in real estate. As long as you do everything good. Obviously, you want to pay taxes and have your LLC and incorporate with the state, and you want to do like your business correctly. And if you don't, you could be in a serious bad situation. And I took their advice. I started hanging out with people, like-minded investors, on Zoom, on in person. The picture you see on the top right is my dear friend Ken, who is also an investor in this community. And we were coming back from meeting a private lender, right? And building those relationships with them. So I was not only learning, what I needed to do, but I was also collaborating with people in this community to make it happen, right? In the picture on the bottom, right there, bottom right corner, it's Roy and I. We went to court because in court you have people who have problems, and what we call ourselves, we're not only real estate investors, we are problem solvers. So in order to solve problems, we need to find people with problems, right? And those people are in court. So there we are, in court, finding those people so we can provide that solution for them. And then I started hanging out with more people in the community, people from all around the world. There's my wife and I. In the left picture, we are taking a plane to a conference with the National Community of Investors. And to me, that was surprising because I started to learn the possibilities. I started to meet people who are lenders, who are agents, who are basically investors, who are contractors, and they don't only do that business, they also work for themselves. So I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is great. So I'm starting to learn the possibilities. I'm starting to free up myself. This is not the property we're going to talk about today, but this is a very special one to me because this was my first deal. When I came to this house right here, it came from a referral from this community. Somebody say, hey, Daniel, I have this property right here. And I want you to look at it and see if this is a potential deal. When I walk up to this property, Scott, there was bullet holes everywhere. I walk up to this property, bullet holes in the windows and on the door, on all the siding, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a distressed property, right? This property needs some love. I walk up to the property, the person there opens the door and starts scratching herself like she's on drugs. And she's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? I'm like, well, we had an appointment to look at this. And like, oh, we didn't have no appointment. This guy comes out in a bulletproof vest, like it's on, that's his everyday attire, right? Like bulletproof vest. And I'm like, we're about to get shot over here.
Well, most folks would have like, okay, I'm at the wrong door. Have a great day.
Yeah, exactly. And I did say that. I was like, hey, you know what? I'll just come tomorrow and just be ready for me. Okay. Be ready for me tomorrow. Have nobody in the house. And then I came later the next day. I took those pictures. I mean, look at that kitchen and
Yeah.
look at the basement, how it looked. Somebody was laying there, you know, on that floor right there. And we were like about to call the police because we didn't know the person was dead or not, right? And that was a little bit eye-opening to me because I didn't know people live like this. And when we can provide a solution for families like these, for the person that owns the house to provide a clean space, I just saw opportunity on this, right? I saw opportunity. I saw opportunity. I became an educated investor to the point where, like, yes, I can close in this transaction. So here it is, a $9,000 check. I closed on this deal in 1 week. It took me 1 week to close on a sale for $9,000. And also Ken took another check for $9,000. And then we were just standing there at the title company and we were like, Ken, what did we just do, man? This is amazing. This is amazing. And this is very emotional to me because you know what we call this? You know what we call this check, Scott?
What?
We
What's
call
that?
we call it the shut up money. The shut up money. You know why?
Why?
Because it's the money that I showed to people who told me to stay cleaning bathrooms, to stay in the construction site, to not do things right. And I show them this check and I say, shut up. There's a better way.
That's so awesome. So just the, oh gosh, Daniel, I'm getting goosebumps running down my back. The fact that this what you're sharing right now happens every day, every hour, maybe every minute across this country, where someone's being told they can't do something, where someone's being told, oh, that's above you. You need to just stay focused and do this. Okay. And you're like, your mindset was like, man, there's more to life. There's more to what I want to accomplish, and literally grab.
You got muted for a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Just so proud of you, Daniel. I was just saying that it's really awesome, and I'm sure you're going to resonate with a lot of folks on today, because today is all about obviously sharing your story and your deal, but it's also about, for the folks who are on today, because we have a mix of people, Daniel, as you well know. We have guests on who have never done a deal before, who have, they maybe read a book or they know someone that's got rental properties or did a flip and they want to get in this business. It could be somebody on today that's maybe already done one deal. Maybe they have a rental property, but they're like, I know I can do way more than this. And they want to communicate. I mean, not communicate, they want to collaborate. And, I love when I tell people that real estate investing is not a solo sport. It's a team sport. It takes a team to build a village. And so thank you very much for sharing that. So that was your first deal. So today, the deal we're going to talk about, how did you find today's deal? Because I know when I remember the story, but there'll be a lot of people on that were not on when we first did the first one last year. How did you find the deal? How did you come across the deal?
That is a perfect segue to the next slide, because I after unlocking this cheat code in life, right? I basically kept doing it. I closed different transactions. I put a couple of properties on the contract. I did this one in St. Paul. The one on your left is in St. Paul. The one on your right is in Minneapolis. And I basically started basically being recognized as an investor, even with people outside of this community. Agents started to see like my emails saying like, hey, I have a potential deal, I have a potential deal, I have a potential deal, I have a potential deal. Somebody from the community told me that, hey, I have I have a house, this house right here, and said, I saw your email, somebody forwarded to me, and I see your information here. I just thought about giving you a call and see if this was a real estate agent, Scott. And the real estate agent said, I need you to help me sell this house to an investor, right? I need you to help me wholesale it, right? And I was like, well, why can't you just do it yourself? Why can't you just, like, you know, take the check yourself? You already have it on the contract. You already have the trust of the seller. Why you can't do it? Like, oh, you know, I just don't have the resources. I just don't have the people around me. I don't, and honestly, at some point she told me, like, I just don't know how to do it. And I was like, oh my God, you're a real estate agent. Are you serious right now? And I was like, hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. Let's see. And we started talking on the phone. Okay, tell me about the roof. Tell me about the, you know, the mechanicals. Tell me about the windows. Tell me about the electricity. Tell me about the plumbing. I mean, this house was in so much great condition. This house was built in 2004. So there was basically no issues at all. And we were like, well, there was a couple of issues, but when it comes to big ticket items, we were like, yeah, I think this is a good deal. So on the phone, what I did is I told her, okay, if what you're telling me is true, let's put it on the contract, right? Let's put it on the contract, and that's how I found basically the deal, through referral.
That's amazing. Amazing. So a lot of times, Daniel, and I know you meet people every day and you share with them what you do, but a lot of times people get really confused and they think that you need to be a realtor to be a real estate investor. Okay. And obviously they're two separate, completely different things. Okay. Obviously we love realtors. You know, it's amazing to have those resources, to have a realtor or two or three, whatever you know, depending on the market you're working in. But real estate investors are, you know, do not get, you know, like trained by realtors, and realtors do not learn what real estate investors do. So it's completely two different paths, but they definitely work together. So you had one reach out to you and was like, help me sell this, right? Because I can't get it sold. Okay. And I know that's the first thing I would have thought too. Wait a minute. You've already got it under contract. And if everything you're telling me, like this should be easy to sell. So what did you do? You like I'll put it under contract, right?
Yeah,
So
I put it on.
how did that work? Was there a lot of negotiation on what they were asking? Those kind of things.
Well, so basically, this is at the peak of the market. So everybody, well, basically, I started doing an analysis while I was on the phone. I was like literally on my laptop on the side. I was like, okay, tell me more. And I'm crunching some numbers. And then she says, yeah, I mean, what this thing was gonna praise for 360 if you do cosmetic repairs, because it's a great property. And I'm just like taking her word. I'm like, yeah, sure, it's your thing. Let's do this. Because I needed to act fast. I'm like, I don't have time to go and research whether this is actually gonna worth 360, or she was telling me like 400,000. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And I was like, I'm like 360. Does that sound good to you? Sure. I'm negotiating there. I'm crunching some numbers, and I say, okay, let's do this. And whatever. And you're right, Scott. Real estate agents are there just to help buyers and sellers, right? Help with the transaction. But it requires a different type of mindset or a different type of position to be a real estate investor, because you are the seller and the buyer, and you do it because of your investments, not because you're helping somebody just with the transaction. put it on the contract right there on the phone. I was like, send me everything. Let's do this.
So what did it look like when you got there? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I actually have a couple pictures right here.
I knew you did.
Oh, actually I have here. So I'm gonna share this because this is really good to before.
Yeah, while you're pulling that up, somebody sent me a direct message about saying that they wanted to know if you put any contingencies on it since you didn't see it.
Of course, I did.
I thought so.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna take your word for it, but I want these contingencies. I want to make sure that I can look at the property afterwards, and just so you know, there might be some adjustments. And they're like, yeah, we cool, we understand, and how investors, this before, whatever. And I was like, okay, perfect. All right, so it seems like they understand, seems like they're going for it. So let's do this. We talk about how he came from a referral right here in the left column. The very first, the middle column says, this was a motivated seller, but the agent did not understand how to wholesale it. So it was like, okay, it hasn't sold because she was putting in, she was like sending it to a couple investors or whatever, and she didn't have any luck. The seller needed to have cash and as is because she didn't want to deal with no repairs, right? So that was me, the solution. And then let me just move this thing. I needed to move fast because the agent was reaching out to other investors. So that's where I put it on the contract. And we just talk about the ready, fire, aim method, right? Where I don't look at the property, I just put it on the contract based on pictures and what the agent's telling me. And, it's ready, aim, fire. But in this case was ready, fire, aim. And of course, contingencies on the property.
I love how you covered the ready, fire, aim. A lot of people don't understand that. That's nice.
Yeah. So we're talking about the terms. The seller needed a flexible term. She was like, I don't know when to sell. So I was like, okay, how about 90 days from now or before? If you decide to sell beforehand, I'm cool with that. I can close fast, right? And as is because they didn't want to deal with the repairs, and they didn't want to deal with showings and open houses because this is kind of like almost the end of the pandemic, right? People don't want people in their houses. They're like, nah, I don't want people in the house. Even without pandemics, it's like, I don't want people stepping in my floors. I don't want people just in my house when I have my kids in there or whatever. This person lived by herself though, but she didn't want anybody there. She didn't want to deal with expenses. She didn't want to deal with the time consuming of showings. The area it wasn't suitable for her, because she was a little bit older, and the area is more it's more an active area. It's a little bit more dynamic area. Let's say that, and it was too big. The house was a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, and it was just herself and a cat. It's like, what are you gonna do with 5 bedrooms? And she was very emotionally attached because she had a partner there, and then things happen. I honestly didn't want to get too much into there. I was just like, let the agent deal with that. And I was like, okay, perfect. And then they have a new person, a new partner, and they needed to move on. Get out of there. They don't want to deal with the house. And that was like very emotional for them. So I'm like, hey, I'm happy I can help you with that. So, I was a solution as a real estate investor. I have a timeline here. I'll show you how that basically worked. Maybe I show you what you asked. I walk into this property. This is how it looked. You can see the lawn. She didn't cut those bushes for like 6 years. So the tree on the front, it was scratching the roof. It was damaging the house and the neighbor's house. I really like this deck. I like to show that because I was like, oh, I can see this. These are very valuable things on the house. I'm checking the water, whether it works or not. And then I see trees growing in the in the egress window, as you can see right there.
Oh my gosh.
So the seller didn't have time to go to the backyard, cut those trees, and she just totally disregarded the house. I mean, it's one older woman who just doesn't have time to look at the maintenance and do her own repairs. So this is the front, you know, when you walk into the house, right, you'll see this living room. And she was ready to move. You see, she has like boxes already there full of stuff. We have it on the contract at this point, so nobody else can buy it. Nobody else can come into this house and say, yeah, I like this deal. Let me get it, right? It's me, it's only me. I have exclusive agreements and an opportunity at this point. Now you walk to the left from the living room and you see the dining room with open concept kitchen space. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, open concept, this is pretty nice. This brings a lot of value for these houses, and especially in this area. You know, I'm looking at the cabinets, they don't look horrible. They look actually standard for the area, you know, and actually they look nicer than what you see in the area. Appliances work. I was checking the water to see if it works, turning off all the lights on and off, you know, flushing the toilets. I want to make sure everything works. And you go to the basement, and this is what you saw. Right, so I'm looking at this property, and it doesn't have a lot of repairs. I don't have to do a lot of wall construction. Or she finished the basement and basically, like, you know, didn't even account for it. I'm looking at this bedroom in the house, and it has the egress window, and I'm like, this is gold.
Yeah, that tree that's growing in the egress pit there, that's not a tree that's like 6 months old. That tree's been growing for a while. The thickness of that tree, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I would say a couple, you know, maybe 4 years that tree was
Yeah,
been growing
3 or 4 years. Yeah, absolutely.
So imagine the complete disregard for the maintenance of this house. But it didn't look bad, right? Because it was only her. So, you know, you see, I'm looking at the mechanicals. I don't see a lot of wires being peeled or, you know, taken apart. It actually looks like a professional installed this. And so, you know, I'm looking at the specifications. Another egress window in this bedroom. So I'm like, hey, I don't have to put another one. These are just legal bedrooms. Here in Minneapolis, you have to have an egress window and a closet to make it a legal bedroom. And I'm looking at this and like, this is already done. Like, it's already done. And we didn't even account for it. I didn't even know this existed when I put it on the contract. So I'm looking at it I'm so impressed. You know, you have a bathroom in the basement and the laundry room with all the mechanicals. I mean, these mechanicals don't look horrible. This is not it. Like, this house is huge, guys. This keeps going. So now, you know, you see the living room. Now we go upstairs, and this is what we see first. We see the bathroom upstairs. It's a shared bathroom. You know, it's a complete full bathroom. Really nothing crazy. And I'm looking at it, all the water, whether it works or not. These are 2 bedrooms that I see. She was using one bedroom as an office and another bedroom as basically her closet for all these fashion stuff, right? She was very fashionable. So yeah, I don't know if you have any. Oh, okay. So and there's 3 bedrooms upstairs, and then this is the primary bedroom. And it has a big closet, and it has the primary bathroom attached to it. So very private on that side. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, yeah, this is a great house. This is a great layout, very great flow. I'm feeling it, I'm feeling good. And then I go outside and I look at this treasure right here, guys. Because I'm looking at this garage. It takes about $30,000 to build a garage like this. It's a 2-car garage, and basically is the only garage like this in the entire block. So I'm like, this is just golden. This is amazing. I don't have to build one. It's already here. And we didn't even account for it. I'm like, I'm at the driveway, you know, this is pretty much how it looks from outside. And then you see the house at the very over there on the other side of the alley. It's a new construction, and there were other 3 more around the area. And I'm like, okay, so if developers are doing new constructions around here, it's because it's worth it. It's because there's a market here. There's buyers, you know. So there's a lot of development here, right? I see the dust flying away, like they tell us, right? I see the dust in the air.
So how did you decide on the strategy you were going to use on this? Because one of the things that we learned through our education, through our mentors that we have and our trainers, is that you always want to have multiple exit strategies. So when you were going into this property, what were some of the strategies you were considering?
Yeah, so I was looking, my very first thought, it was like, I'm gonna wholesale this, right? Just like the agent told me, I'm gonna wholesale this, and this is gonna be great for another investor. What happened is I brought 2 investors with me this day, and they told me, it was Anna and Roy, and basically what they told me they said, Daniel, if you don't buy this, we'll buy it from you. You need to keep this property. You really need to perform on this yourself. Because keep in mind, I was living in an apartment, paying for somebody else's mortgage, and I'm looking to build my equity too. I'm looking to build my wealth, right? So they know that and say, Daniel, this is a great start. This is a great opportunity. It's a 2004 house. It's amazing. And so, you know, they're like, we help you perform if we need to, right? I was just like, I'm just listening to them, and I also talked to different people in the community. I showed numbers to different lenders, and it just felt good. It just felt good to own it. And then once I owned it, now you have other exit strategies. Like, okay, now I can do a long-term rental. I can do a short-term rental on this house. I can do mid-term rentals, which is what I'm doing right now. Or I can just sell it for profit, flip it, right? So I had all those exit strategies, and I felt good about it. I'm like, I can exit this deal, I can enter this deal, I can exit with ease. And I feel confident because I knew I was educated on all these exit strategies, right?
That's awesome. So ultimately, because obviously this is more unique than some of the other short-term rentals and mid-term rentals that we've shared before in our tours, because you have another element involved as far as is what you're doing with the property, where you're living, that type of situation. So explain to folks how you determine that and what you did there.
Yeah, so at some point I was like, okay, maybe I keep living in my apartment and just rent this and basically profit, because I was paying very little in my apartment, and it just made sense to me. What ended up happening this is in 2022, right? What happened in 2022? Basically, you know, an appraisal came in at 360 for an ARV. You know, everybody's overpaying for houses. The market is on fire, and we were very optimistic on this. My lender told me, hey, actually, instead of having it on the contract for 300, because we had it on the contract for 300, instead of doing that, you need to have it at 270. So that's June, right? I put it on the contract in May, and on June 24, the seller decided at that time and said, like, okay, we're gonna close on June 30. And I'm like, you know, that's a week away. And she's like, yeah, I mean, you told me you can close quick. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's challenge accepted. Let's do this. My lender told me, you need to put it on the contract for 270, otherwise it's not gonna work. I negotiated the price down to 260, right? What ended up happening, I ended up I ended up putting on the contract with my company. I wholesaled it to my wife's company, for all the work I did for negotiating the deal, for walking the property, all the inspection. I ended up wholesaling it to my wife's company, which is a holding company, for $270,000. So that's a $10,000 spread that I did right there. In June 26th, the day after, I also negotiated a different private lender to give me money for repairs. So I got two lenders in place right now. I got two lenders. The one, the private lender that's gonna give me all the money to purchase it, and the second one that gives me the repairs, right? So at this time, my nerves are through the roof because I need to pay these guys, right? I need to pay them off. And if I mess this up, it could be very bad. That's your first priority. You want to pay the people you borrow money from. You want to pay them, and you want to make sure you understand the numbers, so you realize before going into this that you are going to pay them, right? And I can show the numbers a little bit at the end. We're going to show the numbers on how did I make sure these guys were going to get paid, and it was not going to go downhill, right? So all the funds are sent to escrow the very next day, and then 3 days later, the documentation gets approved. I mean, they're still asking me for things. They're like, "Well, what about the insurance?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, insurance." I'm calling on the phone, insurance. Okay, insurance, yeah, insurance approved. 1 day, right away, they give you the insurance. Okay, send it to the title company. Perfect. Okay, we have everything we do. We have everything we need. On June 30th, we closed the transaction. It was a pretty sweet deal because when we came to the closing table, we're here in the table, right? And then we're signing all the papers, and then suddenly I get a check for $10,000, and my wife gets the $15,000 for the repairs. With my $10,000, what I did is I paid closing costs and I pay my lender fees. I pay the lender with its own money. I didn't have to come up with anything to the table, right? I got paid to buy this house.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you use other people's money. We hear and talk about OPM all the time. So you used other people's money, lenders' money. Now, obviously, you had to build relationships to find these private lenders. Was the community helpful with that?
Oh yeah, that's actually the lender that we were talking about at the beginning. When I was in the elevator with Ken and we took a picture in that elevator, we were just coming to see that lender. I build that trust beforehand, right? I build trust with people in the community beforehand.
So you acquired a property that appraised at 360. Let me make sure I understand this. I know I do, but I'm saying it out loud. You acquired a property at 360 appraisal value as it sits, right? As the property sits, it was 360 appraisal without any of your own money.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of edit that a little bit, it was 360 doing just cosmetic repairs. So basically, yes, as it sits, just cosmetic repairs. Maybe we change some appliances. Maybe we just do some maintenance to the mechanicals. But yes, with none of my own money.
That is amazing, folks. That is amazing. And this type of a transaction is happening every day all over our community. And obviously, Daniel, I mean, to become an educated investor, to become knowledgeable, to be able to use it, because knowledge is powerful, but it's only powerful if you use it. And obviously, you used your knowledge to acquire this property, to build a relationship with a couple of private lenders, okay? So you didn't have to use any of your own money. So now you've got this under contract, or excuse me, you closed on the deal, you own it. How do you decide to make it a midterm rental? And if I understand correctly, you're also living there. So talk a little bit about that, of how you're living there rent-free.
Yeah, so we started doing the repairs, right? we're still at the peak of the market. So in my mind, hey, let's just keep, you know, repairing this thing. Let's do all the cosmetic repairs. And basically what happened is interest rates on October started rising up, right? Everybody's scared, like, oh my God, everybody panic, everybody you know, nobody's buying anymore because everybody thinks the interest rates are gonna go to 20%. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I guess we're not gonna flip it anymore, because if we flip it, we're not gonna find a buyer, right? And in my mind, I'm panicking a little bit, because I'm also thinking like, well, that's one exit strategy, but I have 3 others. I have short-term rentals, I have long-term rentals. Actually, I had way more. I could have done a lease option, I could have done a contract for deed, I could have done a you know, subject to. I could have get so many things that I could have done with this property. So I'm panicking a little bit because I can't flip it anymore, because I was excited of like, oh yeah, I can flip this thing and make $40,000. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, maybe not. Maybe I just hold it, you know, keep working on it. And I have these other strategies. So I feel very confident. I was panicking a little bit, but it was like, well, I have way more options. So I feel very confident on that. And then I'll show you. I'll show you the
You got
demo.
some pictures? Yeah, I will. How about some, because we're about quarter till the hour, and we want to make sure we get the pictures in so people can see what it looks like after you completed it. And then of course you want to share some numbers too before we wrap up at noon. And
Yeah,
while you're pulling that up, I do want to throw out to everybody, if you're a guest on today and you want to learn more about a lot of the subject matter and a lot of the different things that Daniel has shared with you guys and what he's learned being a part of this community, we actually have an overview about our community, about our education and training and how we collaborate across the country. You know, we're all over the country. I mean, Daniel's in Minnesota. I'm down in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky market. And of course, we're connected through this community. So we have an overview. Get back with who invited you. And it starts at 5 after the top of the hour. So basically in about 20 minutes or so, it gets started. They'll send you a different Zoom link and you can log into that and learn a lot more about what Daniel's been talking about. So Daniel, why don't you go ahead and share some pictures for everybody? And because I know everybody's excited to see, you know, you showed the pre-pictures, which it was really in good shape. I mean, obviously there was some clutter and, you know, some old furniture and things like that, but wow, that is amazing. On the left is that picture you showed us where they had all the Home Depot boxes where they were already starting to pack things because they were motivated to sell, right? They were motivated to sell. They were already in the mindset, like, we would just want out of this place. We're going to go and live with family, be with family, so forth. And now look at what you've done with it. It's so bright and so open. And oh my gosh, look at the dining area, that open kitchen concept. Very cool. Yeah, Dwayne, it's on fire. It's very nice. So you kept the cabinets. Yeah, I see that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kept the cabinets. I kept the appliances. They actually, you know, after going, you know, basically inspect them deeper, I found that these were actually a little bit newer, and they didn't have any issues. So at some point, I was like, hey, if it's a short-term rental or rental, you know, hey, I don't have to put luxurious things here. Let's just keep them. And if one breaks, I guess I will just change it. You know, not a big deal. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, changing all the light fixtures, you know, all those are old school, changing to the new ones and making it seem like, you know, making repairs so it looks good, but not breaking the bank, right? We're not trying to spend money here. This is the bathroom upstairs. This is that bedroom that was an office before. Second bedroom. You know, I at this point, I'm starting to realize that I was gonna do midterm rentals. So I added a desk, I added a TV right there, just like they teach us how to do it. They, basically all the appliances, everything they need.
So you mentioned midterm rental. We've talked about that phrase just a couple times so far. There might be people on that don't understand the difference in a long-term rental, short-term rental, and a midterm rental. And obviously, there's a lot of advantages to a midterm rental. Can you? And again, we're down to about 14 minutes, so we're looking good here. Tell everybody what a midterm rental is and how you decided on that concept.
So midterm rentals are basically when you it's not short term where you rent it for like 2 or 3 days or 1 day at a time, but it's also not long term where you rent it for a year, right? It's like in that sweet spot of 6 months, 4 months, 5 months. And the market in that type of rentals are traveling professionals, such as like traveling nurses, people who work in the airports. We have a lot of people who are doing internships, right? And they just come for like 6 months, and they're like, "Hey, I just need a roof on top of my head," And then I'm like, "Yep, I can help you with that."
So here's a good question from Isabella. Where did you post for midterm rentals? Where are you marketing this at?
Yeah, they give us a lot of, in our community, they give us a lot of options. I ended up going with Furnish Finder because I wanted to target traveling nurses, and traveling nurses they go a lot in Furnish Finder. I started to see ads from Furnish Finder on YouTube, on Facebook, and when you see a company like Furnish Finder or Airbnb or VRBO pushing ads out there, that tells you that they're putting money in marketing. So I leverage their marketing and say, "Hey, okay, well, seems like you're reaching a lot of audience here. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a try for Furnish Rentals." And it worked. I started getting leads from traveling professionals. And another reason why I wanted to do traveling nurses is because, one, they're most of the time they're not there. They're like working and they're out and about. And when they're there, they're super clean. They're very professional, and it's a profession that you trust a lot because they need to be trusted by hospitals. So why wouldn't I trust them, right? Even though I still do background checks on them.
Awesome. So obviously you had to come up with some designs. You kept referring to earlier, like some of the stuff you're learning. So obviously being a part of this community, I know what it's done for me in my business and my career. Could you speak to that a little bit? Being a part of this community, being tied into the same education that I'm tied into, and the mentorship that we get through those facilitators of those education. Can you talk a little bit about that, Daniel?
Yeah. So before even doing this transaction, I was taking, professional training on how to make this happen, right? And then while I was doing it, doing all the repairs, I was also taking training again, the same thing again, because it just refreshes your mind, right? And then when I was done, I took it again to see what I missed. So I was like, okay, so I'm making changes in the process. These are is very organized in a way that it's understandable, and it's easy to digest. And to make, they teach us, hey, I don't have a good eye for things like this. So I was like, hey, they tell us, even if you have a good eye, you still get a designer, right, to help you with this. So when it comes to the cosmetic repairs and cosmetic updates, I got a designer, and I told the designer, hey, I don't want to make this luxurious. I just want to make it look good. And this is what we did. Seems like you're still mute, Scott.
Are you there?
Yes. Hey, happened.
Yeah. No problems. So would you like to share some of the numbers? Because everybody's always excited to see the numbers. Yes, Scarlett, I agree. It is awesome.
Yeah. So before the numbers, I just want to go through this real quick. So the work starts on July 3. On August 25th, the work gets completed. On September 9, while I'm about to finish the repairs and all the upgrades, I start the refinancing process to pay my two lenders, right? I'm still gotta pay those two guys. I get a lot of community help, right? I'm a mortgage broker who is also an investor, understood my needs and say, because not all mortgage brokers are made the same, right? You need to get the one that understands this process, that understands the investor mindset. So I got a lot of help from them. And I trust them because they're very educated on investing. You know, the appraisal, you know, I remember how we said that the appraisal was going to come at 360. It came at 305 because now it's October. Interest rates are skyrocketing. People are not buying houses like what they used to and over asking and overpaying for them. So at 305, it's kind of weird because it's exactly what I needed to pay my two lenders. It is exactly this amount that I needed to pay them. So I closed the transaction. I closed the refinancing on October 20, and my two lenders got paid. Everybody got paid. My contractors got paid. I'm happy. I'm like, whoa, like literally, I don't know. And then I came to the closing refinancing table with no money because my mortgage broker got paid by the lender, not by me. You see? And I was like, oh my God, dude, this is amazing. And so I basically got a house for free. And on December 5th, we get our first tenants. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is really nice. These are the amenities that I offer to them. I offer them, the utensils, cups, water, the water, the plates, the cups, all the kitchen utensils. And let's talk about the numbers. This is a repair estimator that I created with our software, iOS software, where it breaks down how much you're gonna spend on your project. And I show this to my lenders, I show this to my partners, I show this to my wife, right? Hey, babe, this is gonna be your repairs, just so you know. And just so you know, we're not paying for them. Somebody else is. So don't be scared. It's like, and when somebody sees this, they are like, okay. Seems like, you got it. You're doing your numbers. This is also a report that we do in our iOS software, and it stands for iOS because it's investor operating software. And what that does is, it gives me an potential profit. So after repair value of 360, estimated reports of $20,000, I'm overestimating repairs. And then the purchase price is 270, and then it's going to take 6 months to repair. Those are the rates that my lender gave me. And then holding costs, all the buying and transaction costs. So I'm taking into account every single thing, even like the refinancing cost, which didn't even really cost me anything, but, they're there just for good measure, taxes, insurance, gas, water, electricity, all that good stuff. You take into account every single penny or potential penny. And these are some numbers that I have here. The purchase price at 305, which was in reality a refinancing. Repairs, it says repairs 10,000, but in reality it was actually 10,000. I estimated 15, it was actually 10. Because we save good money because they also teach us negotiations, right? It's very important to understand negotiations. And I negotiated with my contractors, I negotiated with the painters, with everybody that I could negotiate with. And I actually got repairs, which doesn't really happen as much, Scott. You know that. It doesn't happen as much when repairs always go over. You have, and then I do have this Excel sheet that shows the rents, right? The primary bedroom is $950. That's really, it's really low rents. Like, I know professional travelers are willing to pay more, but I'm doing these prices thinking that it's the beginning. I want to get good reviews. I want to provide the service first. I want to provide the value first. So people start to know me as the value provider, right? And then, you know, I do plan to increase rents to the normal rates. I mean, the primary bedroom I can rent for $1,200. I'm renting it for $950, right? So just that to give you an idea. The second bedroom is a little bit smaller, so $850, and the third bedroom is a little bit smaller as well, with, you know, no desk or things like that. So $750. And then I'm also renting the garage. Remember the garage? That thing is being rented. I rent the spots, and that has, you know, when it snows here, people really want an enclosed garage. So that gives me a monthly rent of $3,000, you know, almost 3,100 monthly rents that this property gives me, right? So it's money going into the business. We're gonna do a little bit I'm gonna go a little fast on here. I'm gonna take a minute on here, but basically you have all the rental income. You calculate the vacancy, because, you know, when somebody moves out, you're gonna have a period of time when you're not gonna have nobody in that bedroom. You have to account for that. I realize in midterm rentals, vacancy is shorter, is smaller than short-term rentals, because you don't have a lot of turnover. You also have, so it gives you my gross income. I gotta calculate property taxes, insurance, maintenance, all the utilities. And, you know, I'm not paying for property management because I live there. You know, I live in the basement I use two of my bedrooms. One is my office, one is my bedroom, and I have my private bathroom, which is pretty sweet. You know, mortgage insurance, and then a couple, you know, capital expenses, you know, that you need to account for. You know, if you don't understand all these numbers, I strongly advise you to get educated on these, because these numbers is what is going to make you feel safe, is what is going to make your lender feel safe to give you money, and it's going to make your wife feel safe, and that's the most important thing. So that's that, you know, understand these numbers.
Well, Daniel, obviously the numbers are our business, and we always like to remind people that in this business, you really set yourself up for success at acquisition. And you were able to acquire the property for, obviously negotiate and acquire the property for the right price, where you were able to, obviously, when you refi it, pay off your private lenders and own a property with basically no money out of your own pocket. And you're able to generate a nice, and this is just one property, folks, that he's obviously cash flowing net operating income of about $21,000 a year. And that is really nice. You put a couple of these together, as everybody knows, and that's sometimes more than what people make in a year, 3 times, 4 times, that type of thing. So Daniel, as we wrap toward the end, because we're right at the top of the hour, we want to let folks have a chance if they want to jump over for that overview. Remember, guys that are on today, if you'd like to do that, get back with who invited you. They can get you that Zoom link that starts in about 6 minutes or so. How would you like to wrap up today? How would you like to, you know, again, thinking about who's on, who's participating today, you know, the guests that are on, maybe folks that have just got started like you did a few years ago, maybe they haven't done their first deal. How would you like to leave this Zoom tour and share some words of wisdom?
Thank you, Scott. It was an honor being here. I appreciate you and all the community for supporting me. I feel very emotional and blessed, and I'm going for the long run, like I wish everybody here would. And the thing I want to say to everybody is, like, look for that thing. I was an undocumented immigrant, and people told me that I need to stay in a box. What is that box that people are putting you on, and how can you get out of that, right? What we provide here is that outside of that box that people are putting you in, where they shrinking your dreams, they're shrinking your potential. And if you want to have control of your life, if you want to build strong relationships with investors and even your people around you, like your spouse or your partner or friends, and you want to teach them. You want to learn in the process. You want to learn new possibilities, and just apply, not only learn them, but also applying them in real life, right? And start building your empire. You know, this whole process has even brought me closer to God, right? It has brought me closer to my wife. It has put me here on the spotlight. People recognize me now. People see me as a leader in this community here in Minnesota. And I couldn't be more happy. I couldn't be more fulfilled. And it's just the beginning. And I could, it just feels good, man. It just feels good to share this with everybody. So I really hope everybody jumps in the train and starts taking control of their future.
Well, Daniel, this has been awesome. Your story is so inspiring, and I know that it has resonated with folks today. I'm so glad that you gave us this time this morning, and I'm so proud of you. Obviously, look forward to your future and your growth of what you're going to be doing. For everybody on, love to have you back out next week. We'll be featuring a different investor from somewhere else in the country, maybe a different strategy. We'd love to see you on. Lots of great compliments being sent your way, Daniel.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and for all you mothers who are on today, and for everybody who's on who has a mother, okay, or had a mother, everybody have an incredible Mother's Day weekend, and we'll see you next Saturday. And Daniel, look forward to the next time we actually are together. And everybody have a blessed weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.